Hey there, I'm Mike Dunn with Gaming Trend, and we're here at GAMA Expo 2023. And I've got Bree Goldman here from Lucky Duck Games, and she's got some games to show us. So, Bree, tell us a little bit about what you brought here.
I will do that, but before we do, this feels like this is not going to really work. But let me just press the grow button here and see if I can fix that.
Much better, much better. Yes. So now we're.
Hi everyone.
Yep. So yeah, show us what you got here.
All right.
Some good stuff.
So yes, I've got my next 3 releases: My Shelfie, which is actually out now; Nimalia, which is coming out next month; and Cosmoctopus, which will be out at Gen Con.
Excellent. So what do you want to show us first?
Start with My Shelfie.
Excellent.
This is one that you can get in stores right now.
Now that you've set up My Shelfie, show us what it's about.
Sure, I would love to. So in My Shelfie, you have just gotten a brand new bookshelf. You have spread all your stuff out on the living room floor, and you're reorganizing it, putting it back on the shelf. You're competing with the other players to build the best, most organized shelf.
This is exactly what I have to do as soon as I get back home. So yeah, let's take a look at this. Maybe I'll get some pointers.
All right, so here we have the living room board. This is going to be where our tiles come from. We have books, trophies, games, plants, cats, and photos. So these will be all the different types. There are different art on some of them. For example, these games are different from these games, but if the background is the same color, they're considered the same type.
How are these all not games? That's what I'm wondering.
It's a great question. It's a great question. Well, if you come over,
expansion opportunities.
If you come by our booth here in GAMA, you can actually see our life-size My Shelfie, which does have our games on the shelves.
We'll have to do that for sure.
And we encourage people to come by and take selfies with our My Shelfie.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So in My Shelfie, you are drafting tiles from the board, placing them in your Shelfie, which is the 3-dimensional display, with the goal of scoring points in 3 different ways. The first way is going to be a private goal card. This is secret information that only you get to see during the game. And what you're trying to do is match the colors in this goal card to the spaces that they correspond to in your shelf. At the end of the game, based on the number of those that you've matched, you'll get an increasing number of points. So if you only match 1, you get 1 point. If you match all 6, you'll get 12. Then we have common goal cards. Common goals are a race. So with these, you're trying to get them done the fastest, whereas the personal goal cards are in-game scored. These will be scored as soon as you achieve them. So for example, this wants 2 by 2 cubes, 2 by 2 squares that are all the same tile color. Once you achieve, the first person to achieve that will get this 8-point token. And then underneath it is a 6-point token for the next person. And depending on player count, there may be a 4 and a 2 underneath that.
Now, I'm assuming that the number of those tiles that are placed out or set up depends on the number of players.
Yes, that's right. Both for the common goal cards and the board.
Now, can a single player take 2 of those?
Yes. Not from the same goal card.
Oh, okay.
But you can get both goals. Excellent. So there will always be 2 common goal cards. Each player, these actually have a Roman numeral in the back. So everything in this stack would be a 1. Everything in this stack will be a 2. You can't have more than 1 of the same Roman numeral. But you can achieve both common goals. Let's get these right back here in this little cardboard box, right?
And so, these also slide into the shelf.
These are, well, they can. They're the same size as these tiles, but they actually get just set aside as points to track towards the end of the game. And then the last way to score points will be following this table right here, which will be areas of orthogonally adjacent tiles. So for each area where you have 3 identical tiles touching, 3 same color tiles touching, you'll get 2 points. For 4, you'll get 3. For 5, you'll get 5. And for 6, you get 8 points. Pro tip, you don't get any more points for going higher than 6. So a 7, an 8, and 9 is the same as 6. So if you have the opportunity to do that, it's better to break it into a new group that can score separately.
Excellent. Excellent. Now, how many different color tiles are there?
There are 6 different colored tiles, and they also correspond to the type of thing that's printed on them. So the light blue tiles will all have trophies. The yellow tiles will all have games. The beige tiles or the tan tiles will all have books. And the green tiles will all have cats. And then the dark blue tiles will all have picture frames.
Cats, because cats actually do climb up into your shelf.
Two always.
Whereas dogs don't usually.
Not so much. Yep. I actually have an IKEA insert for my Kallax that's designed to be like a little hiding hole for my cats. And they love it.
Now, I will say this. I have seen iguanas on shelves.
I have not seen
Yeah, so that, you know, again, expansion.
expansions. Right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
So that themed My Shelfie.
I love it. So how do you get these tiles? In turn, each player, starting with the first player, who gets this first player chair, will take 1, 2, or 3 tiles from the board. You must take at least one, and they must be in a straight line. All of the tiles that you're going to take must have one free sign or more before you take any tiles off the board. So right now, I could take these 2, or I could take this one, I could take this one, but I can't take these 3 because this one has no free signs.
Can you take these 2?
No.
They have to be all in the.
You can't take this one at all because it has no free signs. Once you've chosen your 1, 2, or 3 tiles, you then must put them into a single column in your shelf. So if you've taken 3 tiles, you can change the order, but then you have to choose one column and put them all into that column.
Once it's in here, it's locked. Right?
It stays in there, it doesn't move. Right. After one player has completed their whole shelf, they get 1 point out of this box that's sitting right here on the board. And then you play back around to the first player, so everybody gets equal turns. And then you count up your score.
Awesome, awesome.
And that's my Shelfie.
That sounds great. And this is available now, right?
That's right. This is available in stores already.
And what's the MSRP on this?
$40.
$40. That's not bad. And actually, we're going to be posting a review of My Shelfie soon on Gaming Trend as well. So be on the lookout for that as soon as we get back from GAMA Expo.
Terrific. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, let's take a look at what else you brought us.
All right.
All right, Bree, what do you got next?
Next up, we have Nimalia. This is a tile drafting and placement game where you're competing to build the best animal sanctuary.
All right, let's take a look at it.
All right. So Nimalia is a drafting game where you are combining tiles to try to form the best animal sanctuary. So you'll be drafting tiles that have these have 4 regions on each tile that may have different animals and different biomes that you're going to want to place in your animal sanctuary. So we're each going to get 3 cards to start with. We'll draft 1 to start our animal sanctuary. So these are my 3 starting cards. We will be making the decisions about what we're placing in our sanctuary based on scoring options that are out here on the board right now. This game, we have in the blue scoring region 3 points for every row of your sanctuary that has at least 1 of each terrain type. The green section, we're scoring 3 points for each panda adjacent to an edge of your sanctuary. So these little X's will show this panda does not score. Check mark shows this panda does score. In the red area, we're getting 5 points for the longest river, and 2 points for the second longest river. And finally, in the yellow zone, we've got 6 points per savanna area that is exactly 4 squares. Now, we won't be scoring all of these at once. In the first round, we'll just be scoring the blue and green scoring opportunities. Then we'll also be flipping this in the second round to show that we'll be drafting counterclockwise instead of clockwise. In the 2-player game, that doesn't matter so much, but if we added a 3rd or 4th player, it would switch up who's getting the tiles from you. In the 3rd round, we'll go over here, we'll go back to clockwise, and we'll be scoring the blue and red zones. And then in 4 and 5, we'll be scoring these 3 and then these 3.
Excellent. Excellent.
So this can actually become very thinky because although in round 1, you know, I want to score this and this, you might be starting to plan for this one in round 2. But then you also realize that in round 3, you'll be going back to this. So you don't want to cover too much of what you set up because you'll be scoring it again.
Right. And so by the time you hit like rounds 4 and 5, like your tableau it could be huge.
It could be.
Yeah.
It can't be too huge. You are limited to a 6x6 grid. And that's measuring it by these. So this is 2 wide. And then you always will have to overlap at least one square when you place after your first tile is placed. Everyone from then on will have to cover at least one. It can cover 2 or 3 or 4, but it must cover at least one.
Well, yeah, let's
Sure,
try how
let's
that
give this a
works.
try.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to take this card, put it down.
I'm going to take this card, put it down. And I'm assuming orientation is important.
It will be once you have more tiles down.
Okay. All right.
So then we draft these, so we pass. In a 2-player game, we just pass to each other. With a third player, I'd be passing to them and getting from you. So now I'm going to pick a second one. And let's see. There's a panda.
I assume it's simultaneous play.
It is. So you technically wouldn't be getting to see what I'm playing, but I'm going to try to get that panda next to the edge right there. Then you get this one, and I get this one, and there's only 3 cards in each draft before we determine points for this round. So we draft and play these 3 cards.
Man, listen, try one. Let's see. So this is what scores. So it's rows.
It's by rows, one of each terrain type in your row.
Gosh.
So you could potentially do something like this. Would get you 1 row.
Ah, yeah, there we go.
So you can see immediately it becomes a very thinky spatial puzzle.
Yes.
Even though you're only placing your 3rd card in your sanctuary. Okay. Now we're going to score for the blue and green scoring.
That's the question about this one.
Sure.
Is it precisely that?
It's as long as you have at least one of each terrain type in your row. So for example,
okay, so if you have 2, then
that's fine.
Okay, that's fine.
You just have to have at least one. And the order doesn't have to matter. So for example, your blue and green are reversed, but that's fine.
I was going for precisely that.
Right? So you've got one of those. I also only have one.
Okay.
Because no, actually, I do have 2.
Yeah, you do.
I have 2. So you would score.
Played this before.
I know, I have. You would score 3, and I would score 6, and then we'll score for pandas adjacent to the edge. So you have 1.
Oh, okay.
So we'll each get 3. Yep. And now we'll move on to the next round. So this flips over, and now we'll be scoring. We'll be scoring the pandas again, but we'll also be scoring for savanna spaces that are exactly 4 spaces wide, or 4 spaces to.
So in the drafting part of that, is that 1 more than the number of players?
It's 3 cards.
3 cards,
regardless of player count. Okay. Exactly. Because the 3 will be the 3 cards that are going into your tableau. So it really doesn't matter how many players there are. This way, you're placing 3 cards per round.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Oh, and yeah, and the landscape of what you're doing can just completely change.
Exactly. But you will start around round 3. You'll start to feel the pressure of butting up against the edges of, because you can only go 6 wide. I'm already 4 wide here, as are you. So we can only go 2 spaces wider and also 3 spaces taller, because I've got 3 here. You've got 3 there. Once you start to hit those limits, you have to get really picky about what gets covered, because you're also not allowed to slide a part underneath. You can only put it on top, but you can completely cover if you want to.
And once we hit round 5, that's it. It's game over. There's no other ways to score.
That's right.
It's just wherever you are on this track.
That's correct.
Very cool. So, Nimalia, is this available now?
This has actually just arrived at our warehouse. We'll be shipping it to next week. This will be available in stores in May.
Okay, and how much is it?
This game is $20.
$20. This is a nice thinky game for $20.
You get a lot of thinkiness in this box.
Absolutely, yeah. No, I was having a hard time with just the round 1 stuff, and so I can just imagine once you get to the later rounds.
I will say that it gets easier to parse as you play a couple of times, but then it's also worth mentioning that all of these scoring cards are double-sided, and there are lots more of them. So every game will be different because you'll choose one blue, one green, one red, and one yellow from all of these for each game. So
lots of variability.
Lots of variability.
All right. Well, we'll be looking for that in May, and chances are by then we'll have the review on.
Terrific. Thank you.
Awesome. All right. What you got for us?
So next up, we've got Cosmoctopus. This will be a Gen Con release for us. So we are publishing Cosmoctopus in partnership with Great Inky Games. They ran a Kickstarter for this last year, which is about to fulfill tobaccos. And as soon as they've completed fulfillment, we'll be delivering this to retail, starting with the launch of Gen Con.
Excellent. Excellent. Let's take a look at it.
In Cosmoctopus, we are devotees of the Great Inky One, the Cosmoctopus. Just so that you know, all of these components are prototypes. The final version of the Cosmoctopus, all of the tentacles and all of the components will be 10 to 15% larger than what you're seeing. I also have the game stored on the table in our X-Trays. These are a separate retail product that we make in partnership with Game Trays. So these come 6 to a box. You get 3 that are split and 3 that are not, and 6 lids snap on. So in addition to being great on the table, these are also great for storing the game. You can just put them right in the box like this. They won't mix together. And then you can just put them right back into the box. When you're ready to play again, just pop it open, put it back on the table.
I personally have a set of these in my game bag for when I go to our game day weekends.
Terrific. I love it.
They're super useful.
Super useful. We make these in orange, black, and white, and they're available for $15 at the local retail store.
Excellent. So yeah, let's talk about Cosmoctopus.
So welcome, devotees, to the worship of the Great Inky One. Your goal here is to summon Cosmoctopus through your portal by collecting 8 tentacles. So throughout the game, you'll be earning these tentacles, placing them around your portal, and whoever finishes 8 first, as soon as 8 are achieved, the game just ends immediately. And you get the chance to bring Cosmoctopus to your portal and take a selfie with your summoned Cosmoctopus. During the game, you'll be moving Cosmoctopus around in this grid. So for example, if you move here, you would get 1 star and 1 card. So on your turn, you'll move Cosmoctopus 1 space and collect the reward that's listed on that space. In this case, it's 1 star and 1 card from the card row into your hand. You can also pay more resources to move further. So for example, if you started here and what you really wanted was 3 gold coins, you could pay 1 resource back to the bank, and then you could move 1 step further.
That's any resource.
That's correct. That's any resource. And cards are also resources.
Oh.
You can discard a card, or you can pay any resource from your inventory. You would only get the reward for the space that Cosmoctopus ends movement on. So this would move from here to here, and then you would get this reward.
Excellent.
Then you would get a card into your hand if you were to move here, for example. You get a card into your hand. If you moved here, you don't. And then you have the opportunity to play 1 card from your hand. When you play a card from your hand, you'll have to pay the resources in the upper left corner. In this case, this costs 3 ink. These scripture cards, the black cards, they function like a splendor card, where this will be a permanent discount on your future cards that have a cost in coins. So for example, on my next turn, if I wanted to play the Rune Scorched Letter Opener, this is already discounted. This cost is a generic resource of any type. So I would just have to pay 1 resource of any type to play this card. And then I would get a permanent additional ink pot anytime I game. So if I moved here, I would get 4 instead of 3.
Awesome. I love the design, the visual design on these cards.
Yes, the graphic design is one of my favorite parts of this game.
The fonts, like it looks like there's different fonts on just about every card. It's pretty fantastic.
And many of them, even if the font is similar,
colors.
They're themed to match the way that so for example, this is the Rune Scorched Letter Opener. This text letter opener has been opened with the letter opener.
Nice.
There's another one that has it's like a melting jar, and the text is actually melting.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
So this type of card is called a relic. These are also going to stay in front of you permanently once you play them. We've got two more card types. Hallucinations. So red cards. These are cards that will be giving you instant rewards. So for this one, you would pay 3 whispers and 3 of anything to get 8 stars. Now, it's important to remember that 8 is your limit at the end of your turn. You can have 8 of each resource type and 8 cards max in your hand. So if you have 10 of one resource at the end of your turn, you'll have to discard it.
Awesome.
But this particular hallucination has this lightning bolt on it. That lightning
instance.
It means you can immediately play another go. And it's one of the only ways in this game you can more than one card on your turn. So when you get this great bounty of 8 stars, you have the chance to use it right away instead of potentially losing it at the end of your turn.
So the order of operations lets you do that.
Yes, exactly. So another reason that you might want to try to build up more than 8 resources of one type on your turn is to acquire these forbidden knowledge tokens.
I was looking at these earlier.
There's only one of each of these for each resource type. So if I got this and it gave me up enough to buy this one for 13, I get this, meaning no one else can buy it for stars. And I immediately gain 2 tentacles.
Oh.
When I gain my first tentacle, I also get my choice of first contact cards. These each have a cost of 0. They still go into your hand, so you need to play it as your card play on a future turn, but you don't have to pay any resources for it. And these are some nice bonuses. You've got one that gives you a free generic resource. So this is towards the cost of any card that has this symbol on it. This one will give you 1 of each resource type. But again, if you've already got an upgrade like this one, you get 1 coin, 2 ink, 1 star, and 1 whisper. Anytime you gain ink, you gain an extra 1.
Okay.
This one lets you move 1 space further without paying a tribute. It's called paying tribute. So when you want to move, let's say I was here and I wanted to move here. Well, normally it would be, I can go here, then I have to pay a resource. If I had this card in front of me, I could move here and then here for free and just pay 1 resource to get to here.
Very nice. Okay.
And finally, we have...
So there's a little kind of engine building aspect.
Very much so, yes. Finally, we have constellations. Constellations will be placed in front of you when you pay the cost from your hand. And then you'll need to fill out the resources that this card requires, starting in the upper left corner and following the arrows. You can only add the resources to this as you acquire them. So if they're already in inventory before you play the card, you can't add them to this card. So once I've played this, I need to get an ink first. Then I can I can fill in either the coin or the star next. And I can't fill in the whisper until after I've filled the coin. Once this is completely full, the resources go back to the bank, and you get the reward at the bottom of the card. So in this case, getting a tentacle, all constellations give at least a tentacle as a reward. You always get at least 1 tentacle from constellations. Then you get to move Cosmoctopus 1 space, and that will let you gain the resources from that space as if you were moving him on your turn.
In addition to 3 ink pods.
And in this case, it would be 4 ink pods. Right, and then this card, just like this one, would be discarded after it's completed.
Okay.
The goal here is to collect 8 tentacles, so I would have gotten 2 if I had had a chance to buy this. I would have gotten 1 from completing that constellation. And
I like that it actually shows 2 tentacles.
And as I collect these, they go around my portal. And once I've collected 8, I'll be able to summon Cosmoctopus.
Awesome. And yeah, that's signals the end of the game. And then
Exactly.
Are there any turns that happen after that?
Now, once somebody has completed their 8 tentacles, Cosmoctopus is summoned and the game is over.
Yeah. Wow. So there's no points or anything. You win.
That's right.
Awesome.
Your goal is to collect 8 tentacles and summon Cosmoctopus.
Excellent.
The Great Inky One. Now, one terrific little rule that came out of playtesting is that at the end of your turn, you turn Cosmoctopus to face his inky gaze upon the next player. That's how you'll know it's your turn. So when your turn is over, if we had a 3rd player over there, You would turn Cosmoctopus's inky gaze upon them. That's how they know it's their turn.
Excellent, excellent.
You're free to make sound effects when you do so. I have played with a number of people who are always shocked when Cosmoctopus turns his inky gaze upon them. It's like, oh, Great Inky One.
So this is coming out of Gen Con.
That's right.
And how much is it going to cost?
It's going to have an MSRP of $40.
Right. So how soon after Gen Con will this show up in local game stores?
Should be right around the same time. Should be
fantastic.
Available at our booth, the Lucky Duck Games booth at Gen Con, and also in local stores around the same time.
Excellent. I mean, this is great.
This has been so much fun.
I always love games with cosmic octopuses. Yeah,
Me too.
You know,
that whole category is just delightful.
And just to make sure, this isn't going to drive you insane when you
no promises.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Awesome. Well, thanks for coming by the booth, Bree.
Thanks for having me.
And
I'm gonna go back to my normal size now.
And we're gonna get a little more coverage from the Lucky Duck booth because there's some surprises there. Shelfie surprises.
That's right.
And
life-size My Shelfie to take a picture with.
And again, we'll My Shelfie and Nimalia will have reviews up soon. I'm sure we'll have a review of Cosmoctopus up right around the time of you guys.
Terrific. I look forward to it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.